Good morning, good afternoon. Welcome back. We're here again on another Wednesday. We are live here to chat with you about a fabulous new book that we have available on our site and is out there in the world that we hope you'll go and check out. We are so excited to have another wonderful guest here joining us today. So as you join in, just say good morning. Hi, Chris. I see you're here already this morning. Great to see you. But yeah, let us know that you're here and you're watching. We're super excited to be here again chatting with you. Before we get started, I do want to let you know about two things. We still have our 20% off book sale going on for a little bit longer. So go ahead and grab any of the books that you're looking at now while they're on sale. It's a wonderful time to do that. And I have a little sneak peek for you that on Friday of this week, we are going to have a brand new sale up on the site for our Chroma yarn. So if you love Chroma, be sure to come back and check out the sale on Friday. Sign up for our emails so that you get notified of the sale. It's a great time to, pick up the yarn if you like it when we've got sales going on. So, oh, and one last thing. If you're not already signed up for our catalog, go ahead and sign up for it now. It's a free catalog that comes out. Our next one's going to be coming out in June. So go ahead and sign up now if you haven't already so that you'll get them. The first one was wonderful. It was beautiful. And I think everybody really enjoyed it. So again, if you don't have it, go sign up for it. It's on the bottom of our homepage. Or I think we might be putting a link in here for you to go ahead and check it out or put in your information. There it is, the catalog sign up. Put your information in and you will be signed up for the next catalog. So, okay, let's jump into our wonderful guest for today. Today we have Sandra joining us from Nomad Stitches. Let's bring her on in. Hello.
Hi.
Good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you are. I know on the East Coast here, it's afternoon for me, but there are some morning people still out there. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, it's such a pleasure. I'm in the UK and it's 5:30 in the evening almost. So yeah, definitely not morning for me.
Wonderful. So today we're going to talk about, let's get it in the right direction here. Sandra's new book, Colorful Crochet Knitwear, which you can go ahead and you can find on our website. You can find a lot of different places too to go ahead and purchase. We're also putting Sandra's website and Instagram links in there so you can go ahead and check out all of her other gorgeous, stunning patterns that aren't in the book, as well as what she's doing on over in Instagram. So be sure to check her out over there and the link to purchase the book as well if you're interested in grabbing it, which I hope you are because it is phenomenal. I mean, just gorgeous. Look at the colors already on the cover. I mean, it's just stunning. I love color. I am a color person. I mean, you wouldn't know it necessarily by what I'm wearing, but I love a lot of color. Like I'm not a black person. Like I put black in my wardrobe, but I love to have color somewhere in there. So this really speaks to me and all of the wonderful colors and everything. So before we jump into the book, let's take a step back and let's just talk about your crochet journey, how you learned crochet, kind of how long you've been in business here as a designer. And let's just let everybody know a little bit about you if they don't already know.
Yeah, of course. Well, I'm originally from Mexico. I grew up there and I moved away when I was 18. I went to university. And when I was a little girl, my mom taught me how to knit and how to crochet. I was, I don't know, maybe 10 years old or something like that. And back then, I just didn't even know that such thing as patterns existed, so I just played with yarn and made up different things. And I still have lots of beanies that I made back in the day with like cables and like really elaborate lace patterns that I just like imagined somehow, which is amazing because I don't even know if I could recreate some of them now. But I just always had lots of fun with yarn, and I went through phases where I wouldn't crochet or knit at all for years, and then I would go crazy, and I went through an Amigurumi phase. I think every crocheter goes through that, and I made just like all these animals for people that I worked with when I was living in China. Like I think everyone in my school that I worked with got an amigurumi, and then eventually started doing crochet bikinis, which is one of those things that everyone goes through as well when they start crocheting. And a friend of mine saw it when I was living in Spain, and she's like, you should make them to sell. Like I would definitely buy one from you, and everyone would buy them from you. And I was like, well, I'm not sure, but you know what? Why not? So I started making some, and I would literally walk on the beach, along the beach, like with my bikinis, and like try to sell them. And I did sell a few, or I would sit like on the side of the road where all the hippie like artisans sell their art, and I would try to sell my my designs, and that was really fun. But I didn't obviously make enough money to make ends meet, and it was quite exhausting. But then I realized that these are original designs, and there were other designers coming up with patterns, and I thought, why not do that? So I published my first pattern when I was living in Granada at the time, a few years after I started making them. And honestly, since then, I just haven't looked back. Like I've gone through times when I do things to sell, but not for a long time. And then when my daughter was born, who is almost 3 now, I just started. I stopped working because I was teaching online. I was teaching English, and I stopped working, and then I just kind of dove into the design thing, and yeah, I haven't looked back since then. It's been a fun journey.
Oh, that's so great. Oh, I hit the wrong button. That's so wonderful. So, you're definitely a world traveler here. I mean, you've lived in so many different places. Does that impact kind of how you design or your inspiration for things?
100%. I mean, I think in the last 15 years or so, I've lived in 10 different countries.
Wow.
So that definitely impacts a lot. Like a lot of my garments actually are named after places I've lived in or I've visited, and just the colors speak to me in a way that it's like, oh yeah, that reminds me of like the water where I grew up, or these mountains that I climbed and things like that. And yeah, that definitely impacts a lot. Or simply the vibe of a place, like
Mhm.
it just feels like it's something I would wear there. You know what I
Right,
mean?
right.
So yeah, that's my biggest inspiration. But I mean, I get inspiration from anywhere.
Yeah, that's awesome. There is a question that I do want to address before we get into everything. The question is the book in UK terms? Since you live in the UK, how
Yeah,
is it? Can you give us an update on that?
of course. Lots of people ask me that. It's in US terms. All of my patterns are always in US terms, unless I work for a publication that requires UK terms. But if you're buying an independent pattern from me, they're all in US terms, and my book is all in US terms. But if you are a UK crocheter, it does come with a conversion table at the back. So, if you're like not sure how to do it, you can always look back and make sure you're doing the correct stitch.
Awesome. So yeah, if you're in the US or you're used to the US terminology, this book is going to be great. No need for conversion there. You can just go ahead and start working right away on your pattern. So let's talk about the book. So how many patterns are in this book? I cannot remember.
There's a total of 14. There's 2 sets of hat and mittens and a hat and cowl. So that's 2 of them. And then there's 10 other garments in total. So yeah, it's quite a collection.
Yeah, that's amazing. And what I love about this book is color work can mean so many different things. Like there's different techniques that can get you color work depending on what you want it to look like. And a lot of times, yes, books will show you what to do, but I really love this. I always go backwards. There's an entire section in the book all about the color techniques that are used in the book, but it's also just a user reference for whenever you do any other color work patterns. Maybe it's been a while since you've done intarsia. You can go back to this book, check out the tuniques, the techniques, so that you can make a new pattern. So it's not only a pattern book, but it truly is a reference guide that you're going to want to keep on your shelf so that you can pull it out every time you want to try something new.
Yeah.
Do you want to also talk about what you have in the front of the book?
Yeah, sure. So I wanted this book to be something more than just a collection of patterns that you say, something that is a reference book and something that I think is missing in the crochet world. So yeah, the beginning literally starts with how to choose colors, different like scientific ideas of like how the colors combine, but also just practical advice on how to choose colors, because those are the biggest questions that I get. Like, how do you find like good combinations? And these tips are really going to help you. I also talk about how to substitute yarn, which fiber works better for different color work techniques. And there's actually a few swatches that I've made, and I had a lot of fun making them. But let me see if I can find them real quick. Yeah, so you'll see different swatches that it's the same exact chart, but it actually looks quite different depending on the fiber that I used. And some I use like a fuzzy yarn, like alpaca, and others I use cotton and I wool. And then I tell you like why they're different and which one is better for what. So that's a pretty cool chapter. And yeah, every color work technique also comes very, very well explained. So it's not just for you to make my patterns, but it's also for you to learn the technique and apply it to other things, hopefully.
Awesome. And we do have a comment here about how there's a dual purpose use for the book. And I love that. So yeah, it's totally worth picking this one up. It's not just a pattern book. It's also got a bunch of extra things. And, you know, Sandra's talking about yarn substitutions. Again, it's not just important for this book. It's important for kind of all of the projects that you're working on. We get it. You fall in love with a pattern. You don't have the exact yarn. Maybe you can't get it where you live or whatever else. And so you have to do some substitutions. So it's really great to have that knowledge in your back pocket so that you can pull it out and go ahead and switch up the yarn for whatever you're making.
For sure, yeah. And at the back, it also comes with a pretty comprehensive glossary of stitches and pictures for how to make them. And so, you know, there's a few techniques in here that I use that maybe are not super common or familiar to many people. So, you know, you have always the reference at the back for that.
Awesome. So let's start talking about the projects. Now, sometimes with color work, people get a little bit scared because it is something that can seem a little challenging. So is there a particular pattern that you would say would be the best to start with from the book, or a best technique that is good for somebody who hasn't done color work before?
Yeah. I always say that stripes is the easiest way, right? The easiest thing you can do is just grab stripes and like play with them, make them thick, make them narrow, make them big color blocks. You know, that's the easiest. But I think that's almost like not color work. You know, like it is part of my book, and I do have a few patterns that use only stripes. But I think the slightly more challenging technique that is also really, really easy to dominate is Mosaic Crochet, which is this is an example of Mosaic Crochet. This is standard Mosaic Crochet. And it is such an easy technique. And once you learn it, and once you learn how to read the charts, it's just, you know, you can fly through a pattern, and it creates really, really cool images without the pressure of having to like change yarns and carry yarns along and hide floats and things like that. So that is definitely one of the techniques that I would recommend for people that are slightly skeptic about color work. But they would like to learn and they would like to give it a go. Mosaic Crochet is the way to go.
Awesome. So yeah, we also got a comment that they love the top you're wearing. So we'll get to that one in a little bit. We're going to go through and kind of look through the book. So the first pattern in the book is actually, it's a hat and mittens. And so you get to start off here. And do you want to tell us a little bit about what inspired you with this pattern?
Yeah, this is the Wabi-Sabi. So all of my patterns on this book are named after words that don't have direct translations to English. I had a lot of fun naming them. So basically just very beautiful words that are in different languages, and I'm not sure how to pronounce all of them, but hopefully I will say them right. So these are the Wabi-Sabi mittens and hat, and Wabi-Sabi is the thought of finding beauty in nature's imperfections, which is a really cool idea. And I simply grabbed a really, really easy chart. Like I think there's 2 charts in it, and it's just like working through them without much going on in the pattern. The color work is quite simple, but it's really, really pretty. And it's just one of those patterns that I want you to enjoy and to just like have fun with. So yeah, that was the inspiration behind these.
It is beautiful. And I love how it's the matching set, so you really can have both to go with it.
Yeah.
So then we've got a pullover that's in here. And the colors here are just absolutely phenomenal. Yeah, you've got the samples there to kind of show off. And we'll also talk about the fact that this one is done in our palette yarn. So there are so many colors to pick from in palette. Like you might have a hard time trying to narrow it down, but you really can create beautiful combinations in this color or in the yarn.
Yeah. I had so much fun picking the colors from your website. I'm not gonna lie, it took me so long to come up with something. But I really like this like bright, intense yellow because it's almost like neon-y. It's not very mellow, but I think with the brown, it just works really well. And this one's called Commuovere. I don't know how to say it, pronounced it correctly. It's an Italian word, and it's to be moved by a story, almost to tears, you know. And it's just that idea of like, I don't know, like when you listen to a book that is really sad and you just can't help but cry. And I just wanted a story that was like touching in a garment, you know. So I thought like of something like, you know, little round bits and the flowers, just kind of like romantic-y, emotional. I don't know. I think about a lot about these things when I'm designing. So yeah, that's the idea behind this guy, and I really, really like it. I like that it kind of closes off with the design at the bottom as well, and it uses waistcoat stitch, which if you can see from close up, it looks almost as if it's knitted, and
Mhm.
the garment, because palette is such a fine yarn, it's so thin, it's fingering weight yarn, but it's really, really light fingering, and I used, I think, a 5mm hook for this one. The fabric is actually really light and
Mhm.
airy, but warm. You know, there's no holes in the fabric, as you can see, and I just love this stitch. It can be difficult, it can be it can be fun, but it's so worth it, I think.
Yeah, it's totally worth it. It's absolutely phenomenal. And, you know,
Yeah.
in the sample that you have, the colors are very striking against each other, but with the
Mhm.
large range of colors in the palette, you could pick something that's a little bit more subtle if you want to, or kind
100%.
of go with any colors that you just really enjoy.
Yeah, someone made one. One of my testers made one with like a variety of pinks and reds, and it looked
Ooh.
so pretty. It was like orangey and then red and then pinkish at the bottom, like just kind of staying in that hue. And oh my God, I
Mhm.
loved it.
Oh, that sounds phenomenal. Awesome. All right. So the next one in the book is this beautiful tank top. So you're going to find pullovers, you're going to find hats and mittens, you're going to find tank tops in here. So you really
Everything.
are going to find everything you need from spring, summer, winter, and fall for your wardrobe with these wonderful
A
colors.
100%. Yeah, this is my beginner pattern of the book, I think. Like the color work is really simple. It's worked with a single crochet on the back loop only in the round during the color work. So,
Mhm.
you know, it's nothing faffy about it other than having to change colors. And the chart is quite repetitive. You can make it as long as you want, you know, with as many repeats of the chart as you want. And the shaping is just so simple. This one's called Ixuarpuk, which I think is an Inuit word, like people who live in Antarctica. I don't remember. Up there, okay. Eskimos. That's the word.
There
Eskimos.
you
Thank
go.
you. Anyways, yeah. So it's like the feeling of anticipation when you like look out the window constantly, waiting for someone to come. Is that feeling? And
Yeah.
I just like when I lived in Bulgaria, the winters were crazy. There was like snow all the time, and I remember just like looking every day to see if the snow was going away, if the flowers are coming out. And then when you start seeing like grass peeking through and like a flower here and there, you're like, yes, spring is coming. And that's the feeling that I got when I was designing this garment. Like it's just like I can't wait for spring to come. And
Yeah.
that's why the word.
Yeah.
Again,
And don't
I'm
forget
sorry if I'm
too,
saying it wrong.
yeah, don't forget too, though, with the tank tops, you don't always have to wear them as a tank top. You can
Yeah,
put cardigans over them, you can layer them up. So they really are a great piece to kind of be wearing year round as well. I
yeah.
know there's a question here about finding the book. Again, we put another link in there in the chat so people can find it if they would like to grab it there. Okay, so let's talk about this one. I love this. I love the two-tone. The pink just pops so much.
Yeah.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about that one?
Yeah, alyak is called. It's a Bulgarian word actually, and it's the art of doing something slowly with no rush while enjoying the process and life in general. It says it's basically like the Swahili Hakuna Matata. And obviously, I mean, who doesn't love that idea, isn't it? Of just like chilling and like enjoying the process. And I think as makers, like we know what it's like to be process oriented because it takes us so long to make something. And this garment in particular is probably the most work intensive of all of them because there's so much color work in it, and it's tapestry crochet, it's fingering with yarn. So you do have to like change colors constantly, and it is one of those that you just have to enjoy the process. And if you're not enjoying it, I wouldn't recommend you making it. But I love it, to be honest. I had such a good time making it, and it's really, really fun to see when you're working a garment with color work, to see it grow, and just
Right.
like you just can't wait for one more row, you know, and you're like, oh, what is it going to look like now? And the best thing about crochet is that you can try things on as you're making them without having
Mm.
the faff of like taking it out of needles and things like that. And I just love that idea. So that's the background behind this one.
I love that one so much. Another one that I really like is the next pattern, the Huga jacket. I guess it's Huga, right? Do I say that right?
Okay.
I always forget.
You know, me too. I had to look it up. Yeah, this one's so much fun too. It's one of those cozy things that you just want to wear all the time over everything. And the idea was actually for this one to be like a coat, like a long one. And I ran out of yarn and I ended up cropping it. And I actually loved it cropped because it looks just so much fun. It's so versatile. It's not intense and heavy, but I kind of want to make a long one as well. I'm not going to lie, because I think that would be really cool. And this is also one of those beginner patterns. It's super simple. It's all single crochet at the body. And the pattern actually comes with a table for you to just follow along, and like you kind of mark off which rows you've worked, and there's just no confusion there. And the bottom just has some mosaic crochet going on.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, super easy chart to follow. And then the neckline is just slip stitch ribbing, and you're done. Bob's your uncle, as they say. Such a fun one.
I love it. And that one is done in our Wool of the Andes worsted weight. So, and the tweed, I should say tweed, because the tweed version. You don't have to do it in tweed, or you could mix it with other Wool of the Andes, but it's a phenomenal yarn to get like your definition with the colors and everything else.
Is. Yeah, I actually did mix it. The dark blue, I think, is not the tweed version of Wool of the Andes. But yeah, most of it is the tweed version, and I really, really like it.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I don't know. I never like saying it's my favorite, but I really, really like that one. That is just so beautiful. And I don't want to say it's simple, but it's not a ton of color work, but it's just enough to kind of really make it pop and have a statement to it. So I love that one so much.
It was funny, as I was making all the garments, like every time I made a new one, I was like, this is my favorite. And then I would make another one. No, it's this one. Yeah, it was fun.
Totally. So the next one in the book is the tank top you are actually wearing right there. And I love the way that one turned out, with the way the black and the white play off of each other, and, the movement that you get with this particular project.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a really fun one. It's called Fernweh. And Fernweh is a German word which refers to an ache of distant places, like homesickness for traveling, which, as we've talked about, I love traveling, and we haven't been able to do it since the pandemic. And I just, I think it touches most of our hearts, this idea of wanting to go places. And this one it's not an easy mix. I wouldn't say it's a beginner, but it is very simple because the chart is just so simple. I think it's like 4 stitches that just kind of get repeated over and over again. It just kind of has a little bit of common sense that you need to use to like figure out the charts. But once you figure them out, they really, really is quite easy. And the front is the same as the back as well. So once you figure out one, then you just repeat it at the back, join them at the top and on the sides, and do the edging, and then you're done. And Wonderful. It's quite striking, I would say.
Yes, it's beautiful. And this one is done in our Lindy chain, which also is a fingering weight like our palette was. But this is a linen, it's a linen Pima cotton blend. Yeah. I want to get that right. And it's a chainette. So it's perfect for the warmer weather. It's going to keep you nice and cool. Because I know a lot of times when people make tank tops and stuff, that's a concern is, am I going to get too hot in it? And when you're using a yarn like this, that's perfect for the summertime, you're going to have a lot of success with keeping yourself nice and cool while wearing your tank tops. So. Yeah.
And the best thing about linen is that it just softens the more you wear it. At the beginning, it will be a little bit stiff, but like the more you wear it, it'll just become this like soft, buttery thing. It's lovely.
Yes, it's so wonderful. Okay, this is probably like one of my other top favorites, just the colors that are in here. I think that's what ends up speaking to me the most. This is a beautiful, beautiful yoke cardigan, or not cardigan, pullover.
Yeah, that's a really fun one. This one's called lagom, and it's a Swedish word. I have to look it up, guys, because I forget all these things. It says something that is just the right amount, or the idea of balance in your life. And again, I thought the play with the vertical lines and the horizontal lines was, a fun way of thinking about balance and life and work and family and all of that, and just to create something out of so many parts that are separate but are together, which is our lives. And yeah, I know I get very philosophical about the names of my patterns. I'm sorry.
Well, it worked out well for you because they're all beautiful. And I think the names that you
Thank
picked
you.
for them really do describe the pattern perfectly. So they pair up
Thank
super,
you.
super well. Great. So I love that one so much. I don't know. The colors are just great and everything. I mean, they're all beautiful. Please don't get me wrong, guys. You're going to love every pattern in this book. The next one in the book takes us back to a hat and a cowl this time instead of mittens. And I mean, just look at the color work here and how phenomenal it is and the color changes that are going on. It's just so striking and stunning.
Yeah, this one's called Merak, and it's a Serbian word, and it's the pursuit of small daily pleasures that add up to a sense of happiness and fulfillment. Again, I wanted it something to be super, super simple that was really cool, you know? So I used two different charts that are very, very easy to follow and for three different colors, and just kind of mixing the colors and mixing the charts, they create something that is really, really beautiful. And the cowl comes in two different sizes as well. So I made the small one for the sample, but some of my testers made the big one. I kind of want the big one now because it just looks so much fun. And yeah, I think it's one of those, again, that you can make in a day or two, and you can create something so beautiful out of something quite simple, you know?
Yeah, it's phenomenal. I love that one. I also really love the colors in this one. I mean, this one just screams summer to me. I feel like everybody needs this in their wardrobe. I love how it's like the boxy shape to it, so you don't have to worry about how it's going to fit on your body. It's really going to be flattering to a lot of people. It doesn't have true sleeves to it, but it's got the little like cap sleeve because of the way it's constructed. So it's just a really great garment construction for so many different body types, and the coloring to it is also phenomenal. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that one?
Yeah, well, this one's definitely one for beginners as well. You know, those that are scared of intarsia because you have all these ends coming in from everywhere. It's worked in
Mhm.
two separate panels, so you don't have to be working in the round, or anything like that. And
Perfect.
and you can use as many colors as you want or as few colors as you want. And again, like you said, there's no shaping at all except for at the neckline. So easy. And the texture as well. I use what's it called? The stitch, griddle stitch. And it just has that slight bit of texture, like lemon peel, I think they call it too. And
Mhm.
I just love the way lemon peel looks with intarsia. And this one's called panapo, which is a Hawaiian word, and it means the act of scratching your head to help you remember something. And yeah, I mean, when I say it, I just picture it like, and like
Yeah.
we all do that, and it's so cool that they have a word for that. But I just like the idea of, like, when you can't find something or you don't know what to do, you just kind of stop and take a minute and think, and like the lines that are coming, just different paths that you can take to find the thing that you're looking for, and a bit more philosophical, obviously. But yeah, it's just a really fun one, and I think of all the infinite possibilities of color work, and I get excited.
Yeah, it's super beautiful. So just speaking of kind of like the simpler colors to things, it takes us into this beautiful garment that has these huge, well, and some smaller ones, but these big circle dots on it. I love this. It's a great way to do color work without having to really think too much, because kind of when you're
Yeah,
in the circle, you kind of know where you're starting and stopping. It's not
yeah.
as many of the counting as you have with some of the other patterns. So it is a more relaxed color work approach.
Yeah, I tried to make it as simple as possible. So the back is literally just a square, and you follow the chart along. And like Katelyn was saying, like, where you're going to start your square, your circle, and then like you can kind of follow, okay, one stitch over, one stitch over, one stitch over. And like you almost do need the chart, but you don't need it that much. It's really, really quite simple. And it has very little shaping. Like, it's just a big square at the back, and the only shaping that you have is at the shoulders. I added some short rows over here. So the fit is actually really, really good because it kind of sits on your shoulders so well without doing that thing that cardigans do where they fall over sometimes, when they're too
Mm.
heavy and stuff. And this one just kind of sits so well. Um, I know I'm tooting my own horn, but I was so proud of this one. it was one of those that when I finished, I was like, oh my God, it fits so well.
Yeah.
And the
I love
stitch
how squishy it looks
it
too. Like,
is so squishy. It uses half double crochet. No, what's it called? Double slip stitch. That's the word. I'm sorry. I'm just using words. It's a double slip stitch, and it looks kind of like knit ribbing, like almost like fisherman's rib. and it
Mhm.
has this really nice thickness to it, but doesn't make it super heavy.
Right.
So it's super warm and squishy, but it's not terribly heavy, and it doesn't use a ridiculous amount of yarn either, this stitch. So it's quite good for a good big garment, because sometimes large garments in crochet, like you think about it and you're like, oh, that is so much yarn. But for
Yes.
some reason, this stitch just kind of uses a normal amount, a decent amount of yarn.
And I love this one too because of all the patterns, in my opinion, this is the best one for using scraps of yarn
Yeah,
because you don't have to make all your polka dots the same color. You could make every single one a different color to kind of use up some of your scraps. And again, that's going to help too with kind of the cost of a garment is
yeah,
if you're using up your scraps to kind of just bring in some fun colors into what you're
exactly.
making.
100%. Like, I got the yarn from a company, so I got a ball of yarn for each one, and I have so much yarn left over, and I feel silly about it. I wish I'd been able to just like dig into my stash and use it, because yeah, it's the perfect pattern for that, for sure.
Yeah, awesome. So the next one in the book gives us a shawl. I think that this is the only shawl, right, in the
Yeah,
book?
that's the initial.
And I just love how this becomes almost like a gradient, except, it's not the same color palette, but it just like flows into each other
Sorry.
so beautifully the way that you put the colors together.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that's like, I'm trying to achieve a fade, and part of the lessons of the book is, how with stripes you can create that effect of fading. And the moment that you use a speckled yarn, or hand dyed or hand painted, it's so much easier to combine those colors, because you'll have little bits of purple and little bits of green, and then you'll have a mostly green and you have a mostly purple, and you can kind of create that beautiful fade that goes in and out. This one's called Forelsket, and it's a Norwegian word, and it's the euphoric feeling of falling in love at the beginning of a relationship. And I just, like, we've all been there, I hope. And I remember when me and my husband met, and it's like you're like attached by the hip, and you like don't
Yeah.
know where the other person starts and where you end, kind of thing. And that's like the romantic feeling that I wanted to infuse into this garment, of like just kind of fading into one another.
It's
And
beautiful.
thank you. I had so much fun making it, because it's one of those very mindless projects that once you
Mhm.
have your markers in place, or the pattern. I didn't even use markers for mine. The pattern comes with markers, but like it's quite easy to recognize where you have to increase and decrease. And once
Right.
you have that, it's like, you can sit and watch TV and like just work away, and those are
That is
just
the
so
perfect
enjoyable.
color work pattern.
Yeah, exactly. You can use whatever yarn you have. Some people made it with solid colors as well as my
Okay.
testers, and it looked really, really cool. Like, you don't get the whole like subtle fade effect,
Mhm.
but it actually looks really, really good. Or if you got a yarn that changes colors, like an ombre thingy. I don't know
Right.
what those are called. That would work really well, and you don't even have to worry about changing colors. But it is fun
Right.
to add stripes to it, I think.
Yeah. Awesome. And then the last project in the book is what we're talking about when it comes to stripes and color
Yeah.
blocking. I mean, you've got the stripes on the sleeves, you've got the beautiful color blocking. And I love too how out of the box, I want to say, these color choices are, because most of the times people are not putting black and white stripes with other colors to it. And I think this just turned out phenomenal. You've
Thank
got the
you.
really like nice soft colors of the body, and then you've got this like punch into the sleeve. And I love it. I think it's great.
Thank you. Yeah, I wanted this one to be, because I thought stripes might be a little bit boring, so I wanted them to be like really fun and punchy. So this one's called Jayas, and it's a word in Indonesia, and it means it's a joke that is so poorly told that it makes you laugh. And like, I feel like, yeah, my dad tells a lot of those jokes. Me too. But it's like that idea of like things that don't really go together, that don't really make sense, but then they work so well together. And I think these
Yes.
colors do that. It's like you said, that very intense black. And again, this is one of those for beginners,
Mhm.
to work with color. And I have a section in the stripes part as well, where I talk about how using different colors around your body for color blocking can actually help you enhance certain parts. So for those of us who have like maybe wider shoulders that we want to kind of not make them so obvious, we might use a different color. And like, color blocking is the best way that you can do that, to play with your body shape and things like that. And the shaping is so easy. It's just a raglan cardigan. It's all half double crochet. I mean, it's quite a simple one, but effective, you know?
Yeah. And, I have to say, I love that one too, because of the way that you put it together. A lot of times, if you are trying to make like a scrappy project, again, thinking about your half-used balls and things like that, and you try to make a cardigan, you've got the stripes in the body or the color block in the body, and it flows into the arms. But this one is really great because it is kind of two separate things. So it just gives a whole new play on the way that you're doing your stripes and your color blocking on your body. I love it so much.
Yeah. It's a good practice as well for like changing colors, like at the sleeves, you have to work in the rounds but turn at the same time, and you have to change colors. So it's a fun practice as well to have to carry your yarn along the sleeve, so you don't have to cut your yarn every time, and stuff like that. It's really good beginner project towards preparing yourself for more.
Yeah. Awesome. So again, these are all the patterns that are found in the Colorful Crochet Knitwear. We've got the link over here in the chat, and we're having a giveaway today. You can win the yarn for the top that Sandra is wearing, which is our Lindy Chain yarn. So you'll be able to pick out 3 colors if you're the winner, so that you can make the tank top pattern for yourself. All you need to do is head over to Facebook in the chat and go ahead and put any comment in there. Tell us what you're working on, maybe what your favorite project was from the book. We'd love to know that, or what yarn you're going to be picking out for your next project in the book, or the colors even. What colors are you going to be putting together? We'd love to know. You just need one comment over there in the Facebook chat. Even if you're watching later, we won't pick a winner until later tomorrow. So you still have a chance to go ahead and watch and get your comment in there. And then we'll pick a winner, and you will win the Lindy Chain to go ahead and make that gorgeous, gorgeous tank top. So yeah, that's so wonderful. Is there anything else you would like to share with us or with everybody that's upcoming for you?
Not really. I do have I'm gonna be at a festival in the UK. For those of you who are in the UK, it's gonna be Unravel Festival in Farnham, and that's in September, I think the 9th, I want to say. So it's a while away from now. So if you guys want to know more about what I'm up to, you can sign up to my newsletter, and I always let people know. And I just want to thank people for being so excited about my book. Like, I feel like when I decided to write it, I was just so unsure about the point of it. I'm like, who's gonna want to listen from me? Who's gonna want to learn from me? And I'm just so blown away by the response, and like people are just so excited to make these garments and to support me. So thank you so much. Like I'm blown away. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, Robin just posted, love all these patterns. I mean, they are all phenomenal. Even, if you're not sure you're going to make one of the patterns in it, they're still gorgeous to look at and dream about while you're making all the other projects that you can make and love making from this book. There really is something for everybody to kind of be picking out what you want, changing up the colors. I'm excited about this. I hope everybody else is too, and goes ahead and grabs their copy. Don't forget that when you're making things, please tag Sandra in it on Instagram or over in Facebook. Tag us in it if you're using our yarn. We love getting to see what you're making from what we're sharing and the different designers that are out there. So please share and tag everybody so that we can all see it.
And Katelyn, before I forget, on my website, I have a blog post about every single one of these garments, and I have substitute yarns that people can, as a suggestion, and every single pattern has a substitute from WeCrochet. So if anyone's, wants to make one of the garments that uses a different brand of yarn, they can go to my website and they can see my suggestions if they want, and that might be a good idea to get the yarn that they want.
Yeah, no, that's phenomenal, because a lot of times when you're trying to pick yarn substitutions, it's a little hard to pick it, just because, you don't know what the fabric is going to feel like until you try it out. So it's great to have your input on that. So everybody can go check out those blog posts for each of the patterns to see any yarn substitutions if you are interested as well. So thank you so much for your time today and sharing this wonderful book with us. Thank you to everybody watching for joining us. I hope you love it, and go check it out, and check out Sandra. Don't forget to check her out on Instagram, and make sure you follow her there for her beautiful other designs that are going on. I think you're going to love following along with her and what's happening over there. So thank you, everybody. And we will be back next week at the same time, and we'll see you then.
Thank you, Katelyn.
Bye.